Hello there.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Cantina Coffee Hour. How's everybody doing on this Saturday morning? This is new. This is different. I'm not used to this, but we're going to see how it works. So today's a little bit of an experiment, and we're going to see how things go down. So thank you guys for being here. Apologize for being a couple minutes late. I'm running off of 4 hours of sleep, but I really didn't want to not do this. So here we are, Cantina Coffee Hour. First one, our inaugural Cantina Coffee Hour of all times. I know I've been talking about doing this for a while, and here we are. We had an opportunity, no social hour last night because I had a company in town and I was busy. But hey, I said let's try coffee hour this time. So I hope you guys have your coffee. I know it's not morning where everybody's at. It's absolutely morning where I'm at, and I'm feeling it right now. But I got my Marilyn Monroe mug from the Hotel Del Coronado here in San Diego, and of course that's where they made Some Like It Hot. They filmed a lot of the movie there with her in it. And I have a Caribou Coffee turtle. So Caribou Coffee doesn't exist in SoCal. I don't think there's any in California actually. But when I was traveling in June, I stopped at the airport. I had a layover in Denver, and at their airport there, they had Caribou Coffee. And I'm like, anytime I go I see a new coffee place, especially if it's like a chain, I like to stop and ask them, hey, what's your signature coffee? What is like your most popular coffee? And I like to try it, even if it's like something I'm not particularly like fond of. Like recently I had like a vanilla kind of coffee, and it wasn't my thing, but they said, hey, this is our signature drink. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to try it. At Caribou Coffee, their signature coffee was a turtle. So it's a mocha mixed with, of course, it has chocolate and it has caramel, like the turtle candies, right? That have caramel and chocolate and nuts. This didn't have nuts in it. It was just caramel and chocolate. And it was one of the best coffees I'd ever had. So I ordered myself some Caribou Coffee, and using chocolate and caramel syrup, I made my own turtle, and it's really good. I really do think the Caribou Coffee is the key ingredient there, because I tried doing that previously with other coffees and it just wasn't working. But with the Caribou Coffee, it really tastes like a really close approximation to what I had in Denver that time. So I wish I had Caribou Coffee here, but in lieu of that, this will work perfectly fine. So yeah, good morning again, you guys. Happy to be here. Happy to see you guys in the chat, hanging out. And yeah, wherever you are tuning in from, out in that wide, vast galaxy, thank you for being here today. And even if it's not morning, really appreciate you guys. So let's see who's in the chat. I'm going to jump in the chat, see who's with us so far. Hey, Adam. There's Adam right there, our resident moderator. We got Rick in the house. Hey, Rick. How's it going? West Coast, absolutely. East Coast over there. Nice. So it's a little after noon there. Britt, how's it going? Good to see you, Britt. Nice. We got Mary in the house. Hey, Mary. How's it going? Good to see you as always. Let's see. We got Shell Scenes. Shell Scenes. How's it going, Shell Scenes? So I want to call out Shell Scenes for just a moment. Shell Scenes is our most recent channel member. And so, he gets the shout out here. So thank you, Shell Scenes, for joining the Cantina. And if you guys are interested in joining the Cantina, no pressure. You may absolutely do that. You simply go over to my main page. And from there, you just select the join button. And then there's a few different options you can take a look at if that's what you're interested in doing. And if not, that's perfectly fine too. Let's see. We've got JJ in the house. JJ, how's it going? We got William. Hey, William. Good morning. Good to see you. We got John Miko TVC. There he is, trying to watch on cell service. Okay. Well, I hope it works, John. Thank you for coming in and hanging out today. Nice. Oh, thank you, JJ. I appreciate that. Thank you. I was actually thinking about going back to black hair. I don't know. What do you guys think? Because, like, Platinum blonde is like it's so hard to keep up with. Like you got to do your appointments like every 4 weeks and for touch-ups, and like it's just so harsh on your hair, and like it doesn't feel like, I mean, I take very good care of it, like as best as possible. I'm very anal about it, but it is a very damaging process, and your hair never feels the way it did when it was like virgin hair. So I don't know, kind of random, but I'm thinking of going back to the dark side. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I probably won't, because it's kind of like that thing. Like once you do it, then you regret it, and it's very hard to get back to like light hair. So I don't know if I'm probably not going to do it, but every now and then I just think about the upkeep and the expense and just the quality of the hair. And it's very tempting to want to go back, but I don't know. But thank you. I appreciate your compliment. On 4 hours of sleep, I needed it. Trust me. And I need the coffee too. Delvian Seek, how's it going? Good to see you. We got Dave tuning in from Facebook. How's it going, Dave? Cool. So not a huge crowd, 19 in the house, but hey, we're just getting started. 20 in the house now. But yeah, like I said, this is something different. This is an experiment. I've never done this before. Coffee hour. We've had afternoon streams on Saturdays once in a while when it's like the Cantina HasLab or whatever, but this is obviously something different. Just to see how it works. And, if this works out, one of the reasons that I created or thought about coffee hour, like, a long time ago, was I could have guests on that are in different parts of the world that aren't necessarily available and up, really early or late at night, depending on where they're located, for the usual social hour on Friday night. So we'll see what happens. If it works well and you guys want me to keep doing it, then it's not going to be a regular thing, because, like I said, I had a late night last night, and, here I am. So, but we'll see how it works. Chaz, good to see you. How's it going? All right, cool. So let's see what is going on. I'm going to tell you guys about today's topics. So we're going to talk about the new Jazz Inc. Batman, the sitting Batman that sits in the 6-scale Batmobile. Just briefly, we're going to talk about the Hot Toys Zombie Death Trooper. It's brand new Hot Toys, announced and pre-ordered and waitlisted this week. So we'll go through that a little bit. I got to go to Galaxy's Edge on Tuesday. I was at Disneyland on Tuesday. I took myself to Disneyland because that's what adults do. I took myself to Disney, and so we'll talk about that, my experience there. And it was an interesting day. And I'll talk about things that I bought. I'll show you guys some brand new things that I've picked up there. And you'll tell me at the very end, of course, about your acquisitions. And, we'll go over what I have here. And then we'll talk about Last Figure Standing. We'll talk about some stuff I've seen in the Star Wars TVC community that, I think it's only right to call out. So we'll talk about all that. We got a range of topics. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. First, I'm going to take a sip of my Caribou Coffee Turtle Mocha. See, it's easier when you have guests because you can just take a sip, or you can turn off the screen real quick to just like stretch or let your dog in or out the door. But when it's just you're talking. But it's not just me. You guys are here, and that's what's important here today. All right. So we got Dean in the house. Hey, Dean, how's it going? Awesome. All right. Let's go ahead and get this show on the road. We're going to go ahead and get into our very first topic here. So here we go.
This is where the fun begins.
All right. So Entertainment Earth, you guys know it. Entertainment Earth has brand new stuff in stock, like the latest wave of the vintage collection. I got a shipping notification earlier this week that my case had shipped out. I hope it gets here today. That would be awesome. But it is in stock. If you use the promo code Victoria right now while it is in stock, you will get 10% off of your order of this latest wave of TVC. It's wave 19, case of 8 figures. What do you get in that case? I'm going to tell you what you get in this case here. As far as this goes, they did revise this case, so it's not exactly what it was when it was solicited for pre-order earlier this year. You get 1 OSHA NSA, you get 1 May, you get 2 Jedi Master Soul, 2 HK-87 Assassin Droids, and 2 Dark Troopers. Of course, the Dark Trooper is the repack that previously was a deluxe figure. You just don't get the whole charge up station thing. HK87 is a repaint, and the other 3, Osha, May, and Soul, are brand new, newly tooled figures for this wave. It's a pretty decent wave. If you like the Acolyte, well, this is really the first Acolyte wave that we've gone for TVC, plus a couple other odds and ends in there from Ahsoka and The Mandalorian. So all new content based wave. Yeah, it's a good wave. So if you're interested in doing that, like I said, 10% off. Use promo code Victoria. If you don't want the whole wave, you just want to pick and choose. They may still have individual figures available. So you could go that route too and just pick a few, and you could still use the promo code as long as it's in stock, 10% off. All right. So just wanted to throw that out there. Let's see what else we got. We're going to move into, we were talking about these previously, so I kind of don't want to omit it. But we're finally getting a look at the SH Figure Arts Beetlejuice figure. I think previously during Social Hour, we looked at the Mesco version a week or 2 ago. So this here is the SH Figure Arts release from Bandai Tamashii Nations. We had seen a tease for this a few weeks back. Now we're seeing the full-on figure. And it's not bad. It's $94.99. It's a little pricey. I mean, SH Figure Arts never used to be this pricey. But, here we are. Inflation. I don't know. Figure don't look too bad. It looks like an SH Figure Arts figure. So if you're familiar with their articulation systems, like with that big noticeable joint at the torso, he has it. SH Figure Art used to be like the absolute best when it came to 6-inch, like Star Wars, and even like Marvel and DC figures. But then as Hasbro's caught up over the years and introduced things like photoreal and pinless joints, there's not really a need for SH Figure Arts anymore. But it's not like Hasbro is making Beetlejuice figures. So again, if you're not after the Mesco or the NECA one that we looked at previously, well, here's the SH Figure Arts. It's not bad. Figure arts do have a tendency these days to look a little plasticky, I guess, a little toy-like. And I don't think this figure is an exception. It's nice. I think the sculpting of the portrait is really nice. It looks like a fun figure, but it does look like a figure. Whereas with the Mesco, I think the Mesco is a little more, like when you look at it, it looks like it caters to a little more of a discerning type collector. But this isn't bad. It is a little pricey. So, I mean, if it's this or the Mesco was like, what, $150? Both expensive, but I would probably say the Mesco. But yeah, the figure looks good. I like Barbara and Adam's headstone right there. There's a shrunken head. Mesco did that too. The Beetlejuice sign is pretty cool. Like that's actually pretty neat. I don't remember the other ones come with it, but that's actually pretty neat. He's filing his nails. It looks like, yeah, the boots look pretty nice too. That's interesting how they're like folded that way. I wonder what parts they were able to put on there to do that. It's not bad, but it is a little pricey. And all these companies, I love that they're doing Beetlejuice figures, but I mean, there's other characters too, and I haven't really I'm not committed to any of these. I want to get one of these in 6-inch, but I'm not committed to any of them yet. But I'd probably say whatever company decides to do other characters, I think that's the one I would ride with, because I mean, I know his name is in the title, and he's obviously the biggest draw of these movies, but it's come on, there's so many other characters you could do to build out an actual toy line. So whatever company makes a Lydia figure, I'll ride with that company. So hopefully it happens. All right. What do we got next? I'm glad you asked. Let me take a look, because I forgot. All right. Jazz Ink dioramas. We talked about these previously. We talked about the Batmobile. A couple of weeks back, we had John Miko joining us, as well as Leo, the 1/6 scale man. And we discussed the Jazz Ink Batmobile, which Leo has in his collection, and it's an amazing piece. It's way beyond the Hot Toys version. which I do have, and I'm perfectly happy with. But one of the things we discussed was that they were going to make a sit-in Batman figure, so that you don't have to like bunch up and pose your regular Hot Toys or Jazzing Batman to cram into this Batmobile. So we have images here of the sitting Batman. And we're going to go ahead and see where those went. Here we go. All right. So the figure is posed in a pre-sitting position. I don't know that it's articulated. I think the arms, maybe they said, were at the shoulders were articulated. But it is not an action figure. It is just something to put in your Batmobile. I love that this is supposed to work with the Hot Toys version. So if you're only doing the Hot Toys Batmobile, or if you do the Jazz Inc., you could still use this. It's compatible either which way. I think that's great. I love when companies, I mean, there's absolutely no reason for them to do that for it to work with the Hot Toys. But the fact that they did, I think, kind of says a good bit about Jazz Inc. as a company. Like, you know, that even if you don't have their Batmobile, you can use it in the Hot Toys Batmobile, and that's kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, the figure itself, it's just a very basic figure. It's just meant to sit in there. It's not going to do anything, right? So if you have the Batmobile, you're probably going to want to have the full-on figure as well, whether it's the Jazz Inc. or the Hot Toys version, to have outside the Batmobile posed next to it. I think one day in the future, whenever I get around to having this toy museum that I mean, I guess I kind of have a little museum, but like a real toy museum. I think that's how I would pose it for sure. But I would still want one to be inside the car, because he's got to be driving the car. So yeah, this is cool. I'm probably going to pick it up. I don't know what pricing is going to be like quite yet. I think I'm going to pick it up for that day when I do display that Batmobile. But, you know, it's better to have something right now and not be able to use it on display than to finally be in a place where you can display it and not have everything you need to put it on display. So that's when you pay a lot of money for stuff. So nothing is ever cheaper than it is at retail price, even though some stuff ends up at Ollie's, in which case, yeah, it is cheaper in that case. But when it comes to stuff like this, like Hot Toys, Jazz Inc., I mean, almost never are you going to pay less for it than the current going rate. So this is pretty cool. We talked about Catwoman before last week too, and we did the Batman special Cantina Social Hour, and their Catwoman, I think, is supposed to go up for pre-order on the 30th, and I'm over the moon excited about that. So I'm going to pull that up really quickly here, just to remind you guys what we're dealing with, because what we are dealing with is something magnificent, absolutely magnificent. And I just hope that I am able to get in on this pre-order. I really, really hope I am. Now, just a reminder that this is not going to be available directly through Jazz Inc. If you live in the US or in Canada. You're going to have to go through 1/6 kit or spec fiction in order to pre-order it. I fully intend to pre-order it. This is like a once in a, I don't know, every few years type of collectible, especially when you're concerning the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. And for me, it's not to be missed. I mean, that's just a me thing. Like, that's my favorite Batman movie, Batman Returns. And it is not to be missed. I have to absolutely secure this piece. Like, yeah, like it's a grail for me, and I absolutely have to have it. It looks phenomenal. I am stoked. I just hope that I can get in on this pre-order. I hope it's not like the Star Speeder 3000. I'm excited, you guys. I know it's not for everybody. It's going to be pricey, especially if you go the deluxe route and you get the whole base and everything. We'll go ahead and pull that up. But for me, absolute grail. It is an absolute grail. And yeah, I got to have that. I also really appreciate that when they were interviewing Yost from Jazz Inc. Recently, he said that this was designed to fit in a DTOF. If you get the diorama base, it'll fit in a DTOF. So like they specifically measured and made sure that it would fit on a shelf in the DTOF. which is fantastic. I wish more companies would be cognizant of that. I know that a lot of times Hot Toys does like large bases and stuff, and sometimes the figures end up too tall to be in the DTOF using the base. So that's awesome that Jazz Inc. was paying attention to that. It's a great little thing, and I think little things like that, for me as a collector, just kind of, they help assuage me towards those kinds of companies, because yeah, I like what they're doing. I like that they're being inclusive of and aware of shelf space, and they're being aware of the consumer. So that's brilliant. Good stuff. And yeah, she looks amazing. Every time I look at this figure, I'm like, I gotta have it. Gotta have it. Gotta have it. Gotta have it. I've got to have it. All right, we got a super chat from the chat. Hey, the chat. Hey, Victoria, really enjoy your toy reviews and nice to see your collection. Just wanted to thank you for your cool self and what you do. Thank you. I appreciate that, the chat, very much. Thank you so much for those kind words. And we are happy to be here. So thank you for that. Okay, before we go on to our next topic, I'm going to see what's going on in the chat. What else is going on in the chat? It's coffee hour, so we should expect coffee drinking. Absolutely. That's what we're doing. It's just coffee. I mean, I promise there's nothing else in it, just coffee. Turtle mocha is what I meant. Beetlejuice is a little too Pennywise. Oh, that's funny. It kind of does. Now that you mention it, it kind of does look like that. Chaz says, I hated the show, but I like the TVC figures. That's all. That's what it's all about for me. I mean, I have toys where I've never even seen the movie, not Star Wars, but like other things. I think I had a couple Alien figures before I had seen any of the Alien figures. And for me, it's more about like the toys. I can separate and appreciate a good toy from the source material. And I'm glad you can do that too. Hey, Greg, how's it going? Good to see you. Catwoman is amazing. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, so it says that, I think it says hello there, but you can change it to the hell here, after she breaks the lights. Mary, I'll likely go kit or respect. Okay, that's good to know, Mary. I have not bought from either of those retailers in the past. So I'm not sure what your experiences may be with them. But if you recommend kit, then that's what I'll do. I trust your word over my non-experience with either of these companies. So let's go with that. All right, let's see. What else do we got here? Let's move into some Star Wars. There's not a lot of Star Wars this week. There's not. But there is a Death Trooper that we're going to talk about. The Hot Toys Death Trooper, as seen in Ahsoka. These are the zombie Death Troopers that we saw in the show in that very last episode of the first season. So this one kind of came out of nowhere in terms of it being put up for pre-order. We knew this figure had been teased previously. They put up for pre-order the Night Trooper, which is the Stormtrooper version. They put up for pre-order Captain Enoch, and then of course many other figures from Ahsoka. They're going pretty deep with the series. But the Death Trooper kind of had fallen by the wayside for a bit, and now they posted pictures and blogger photos a couple nights ago saying, oh, hey, this is still coming. We didn't forget. But the fact that they put blogger photos up always indicates that it's a brand new figure that is already being received. It's already in production. It's already ready to be sent to the consumer. So this went up for pre-order. This was a limited edition. I think there were 2,000, they said. I don't know how many Sideshow got on their website, but yeah, I didn't get the memo, so I missed it. I'm not sure that I would have gotten it either way. I'm trying to be very careful, especially like with things like this Catwoman figure. You got to make some sacrifices here and there. And for me, this isn't something I absolutely had to have. I do have the Night Trooper and Captain Enoch on pre-order. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep those because I feel like, well, if I don't have the Death Trooper, like, do I need those other two? They're somewhat prominent in the show, right? But I don't feel like they're essential in the way that like Hera and Sabine and Ahsoka are, in that same way. So I may cancel those two. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, the Death Trooper looks great. Basically, it's the zombie Death Trooper. They're pretty scary in Ahsoka. And you get a good bit of stuff with it. You get several sets of interchangeable hands. You get a basic display base. You get a couple of weapons. And then, it's got the Kitsigi type repairs on his armor, with like the gold and the red trimmings, the red wrappings. It's a nice looking figure, but it's not really something I had to have. I love that pose, by the way, that zombie pose. It's great. That is great. I mean, I also like how it comes with both helmets. Like you can have him with the open, gnarled out helmet with the scary jaw, or you can have him with the more normal helmet before it was broken by Sabine. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not getting it, but if I had it, I don't know how I'd probably display it with the zombied out like look, because that's probably a little more unique. But yeah, if any of you are pre-ordering this, let me know. Or got in on the pre-order, let me know. But yeah, it's a pass for me. Not going to be picking this up. As far as the price goes, $275, not terrible in 2024, especially for such a limited release. Like that's actually not bad for a limited release like this. But yeah, it is on wait list. So if that's something you're interested in, you'll have to join the wait list and see if you can get through. Sometimes the wait list comes through. It's happened for me a few times, but there's never a guarantee that you'll get through the wait list. Still, it's better that they have a wait list than do not have a wait list. All right. Cool. We are doing well. Let's see where things are at. All right. Moving on. Galaxy's Edge. My home away from home. Yeah, so I want to talk about, before we get into our TVC stuff, talk about Galaxy's Edge a bit. So they have these new posters, and I'm just going to have them up kind of as our like little background during this segment. But on Tuesday, and big shout out to my pal Chris, who works for the Walt Disney Company. His name is in the credits of many of the animated films. I've known this guy for well over a decade, and he's a good friend. And so he was at Disney on Tuesday, and he's like, "Hey, Victoria, you want to come on up?" I'm like, "Yeah." So he signed me in. Thank you, Chris. And I got to go to Disneyland. I took myself over for the day. And some people might think, "Oh, well, you go to Disneyland by yourself. Like, what's the point?" For me, it's totally not that, because I'm on my own schedule. I get to shop when I want to shop. I get to like schedule things when I want to do them. I get to eat where I want to eat. And just like making a day for yourself as an adult. I mean, obviously it helps that I'm childless. And it helps that I am on my little fall break right now. So I was able to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's a great, for me, it's a neat thing to be able to do, because you're just kind of, I love going with people, and I think it's better probably overall to go with people. But if you're like somebody like me who's a collector, and you're in it for like, you're going there because you want to shop, you want to experience the atmosphere, and you just kind of want to be immersed in that, I think being there alone is a great way to do that. And got to do some of my favorite things, of course, the Haunted Mansion, my favorite ride of all time. I love it. I got to do that. Of course, they have the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay currently. And that was fun. And I did do a lot of rides. There were actually quite a few people in the afternoon. The morning wasn't bad, but the afternoon, it kind of picked up as people started getting off work and whatnot. But I will say I was a little disappointed. There were quite a number of things that were not in complete working order. And I don't mean just Galaxy's Edge. I mean like the park in general, which kind of disappointed me. As you guys probably know, I'm a big Disneyland, Disney parks fan. I have a podcast, Discoveryland. It's about the history of Disneyland, which I'd like to come back to in the near future. It's kind of on hiatus at the moment. And I really respect and revere the history of the park as thought out by and created by Walt Disney. And I honestly think that Walt Disney would be a little disappointed at a lot of what I saw. I'll go over just a few things briefly because I don't want to turn this into like a Disney Parks thing. But one of my favorite things to do there is the Sleeping Beauty Castle walkthrough. If you didn't know this, you can go into the castle at Disneyland. There is a door on the back side where you can go and you walk up the steps and you experience Sleeping Beauty, the story, like as told through a series of dioramas. There's no animatronics, really. They're very simple. They're like cardboard cutouts, not cardboard, like wooden cutouts. And it's really cool. They brought this back in 2009 after it had been closed since like 2001. And they restored it to its original 1950s version. And it was one of the coolest things ever. I was so happy overjoyed when they brought that back. But I was very disappointed this last trip that so many elements in there were not working. The lighting, some of the lights were out, some of the effects weren't working. And it just looked really rough. There's a scene towards the end where there's a bunch of plastic roses, and it looks like they haven't changed them out since they put them in 2009. So that was a little disappointing. Haunted Mansion, I mentioned. The Hatbox Ghost was not working. How can you have that? He's like the coolest thing in the whole, coolest animatronic. So his head in the Hatbox, if you guys know what I'm talking, if you know, you know, his head was lighting up in the Hatbox, but his head on his body was not. So, and from, I started going online, and from what I'm seeing, this is actually becoming quite a common thing at Disney parks lately, that they're really skimping on maintenance and skimping on the budget to maintain things. Yet they're going and announcing all these different rides, all these different, Avatar and yay, Avatar, woohoo, Coco, and like all these things, which, is great. Marvel, whole Marvel land with Avengers attractions. Like, all right, that's fine and all, but I feel like it's more important for them to maintain what's already there than to put all this money into things that, aren't. I'd rather than maintain what's there, especially when you look at the fact that, as we talked about in a previous episode, and we had Brad Jost on, there a lot of the changes they make these days transform the history of the park, because you're losing elements that have been there since the inception. And it doesn't matter what they add, whether it's like Galaxy's Edge, which did do away with a good amount of the original Frontierland, or what's coming to Cars coming to Walt Disney World, and they're going to do away with their own river there. It seems like it's just like these changes are permanent. So it's like, you have these things that have worked well for decades, and they're great. They're historical and people love them, and then you just let them fall by the wayside. So it was really sad for me to see certain things like that were just not maintained. And it's sad to see that online, that this isn't an uncommon thing these days, that they're charging more to enter these parks than ever before. And they're maintaining them pretty poorly. I don't get it. I don't like it. And they need to fix that. All right, so Galaxy's Edge. Rant over. Galaxy's Edge. So yeah, I as much as I love Star Wars, obviously, I was never a huge fan of them putting Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland the way that they did, especially when it came at the cost of removing some very historical elements that had been there since Walt Disney's days. But now that it's there, there's things I enjoy about it and things that I don't. The shopping is great. The food options, fairly good. The cantina, fun. The rides, I know I've talked about Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. The big thing for me is going and seeing the Millennium Falcon in person, getting your picture taken with it. But then the actual ride, is kind of, it's not the greatest ride, honestly. It's a frustrating ride because you go in with groups of people, that you probably don't know most of the time, and you're assigned a role. You're either the pilot you're the gunner, or you're the engineer. Everybody wants to be the pilot, but it very seldom happens. And it's up to everybody in there to do their job of doing one of those three roles. And if that's not happening, and somebody's not a good pilot or they're not a good gunner, the ride experience suffers. I think there is some level of creativity and excitement in giving, the guests the role of doing some of those things. But you may be a seasoned pilot who is assigned an engineer, and then you have a 5-year-old piloting. At a certain point, the ride system like overrides the failures of the people that are operating the different controls, but it just doesn't make for a good experience, honestly. It just doesn't. I think in theory it sounds like a great thing, but when you're in practice, when you're actually doing it, it's not that great. And they are changing this ride to be the Mandalorian focus with Mando and Grogu. Don't know how that's going to work, given that this whole land is themed to the sequel trilogy era, which is another issue I'm going to talk about in a second. But yeah, you have Rise of the Resistance, which is an amazing ride, but it's very hard to get on. They don't have single rider. Millennium Falcon does. I know I've talked about that before. Always ended up getting the engineer. But Smuggler's Run or rather Rise of the Resistance is a much better ride. It's very thematic. Like, the theming in there is excellent. It's just a great experience. The ride is fun. It's thrilling. The characters, Kylo Ren and all that. It's a really good experience, but it's very hard to get onto because of wait times and such. And then I know that it experiences breakdowns fairly regularly too. Other than that, there's no other rides there, and I think that makes it like a little, unless you're just there for the shopping, it makes it a little less appealing as a land to put yourself out of the way for, especially when you can go on Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, Indiana Jones, all that. But yeah, the land is sorely, I feel like the more I go, I enjoy going, I enjoy shopping, but the more I go, like the more it feels like kind of half-baked. And I think that that's sad, because when you consider the fact that they put this land in there to capture Star Wars fans, right? And capture Star Wars collectors. And it doesn't fully live up to that. And then again, at the sacrifice of some of the more historical elements of the park, it's kind of unfortunate. Things that I love about Galaxy's Edge, I love going into a Star Wars land. I think the idea of it is great, but it's not like overtly, unless there's characters walking around, you wouldn't even really know that it's Star Wars, honestly. I mean, the market place area, is really nicely themed, and that's a little more Star Warsy. But if you're just walking around the land, I mean, not really. There's droids and stuff there, and the droids make it obvious that it's Star Wars, but it's still really lacking. And I know that when they planned this land out, there was budget for doing more, to have like more walk around characters and droids and aliens, and there was even supposed to be like another ride, like where you're riding, like, I don't know if it's like a bantha or some sort of a creature, but you can like ride on it on different areas throughout the land. And that was axed from the budget. So I think the thematic elements need a lot of work. The music is nice. You go in, there's this calming music, but again, not necessarily Star Warsy, because there's not any Star Wars cues. There's not even any sequel trilogy cues in the soundtrack to the Galaxy's Edge land. So they've kind of pinned it down to sequel trilogy era, but it doesn't even necessarily feel that way unless you see Kylo Ren and stormtroopers or Rey walking around. But I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks for me too, is that they made it very specific to a certain era, and not necessarily the most iconic Star Wars era, obviously. I hope they get around to retheming it at some point, maybe making it original trilogy. And I'm not just saying that because original trilogy. I think that's the most iconic of Star Wars. You think of the Death Star, you think of Tatooine, you think of the Cantina. Like, I think that would capture I think that would make it more appealing and more, not just to like, you know, Star Wars fans, but just to like a general audience to see like Darth Vader and characters, you know, good, well done characters like Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia and stuff like that. I mean, if they can do Rey, I'm sure they can do Leia and Luke and Han. They already got Chewbacca, the droids, easy enough. But yeah, so it needs a lot of work. I think Galaxy's Edge needs to be rethemed to the original trilogy, and it needs to become more immersive. The music needs to be improved. They need to add another ride because, yeah, there needs to be another experience. Even some shows would be great. Like if there was like they have areas to do shows. If they did shows more regularly, like that would be pretty cool. But yeah, they're just not really fully taking advantage of this land. And when you look at the issues with the maintenance I was talking about earlier, it's like, okay, well, if they're not going to maintain these other rides, why would they even do that? So I guess as long as people continue to pay what they're charging to go in, people continue to shop and buy food, then I guess there's not really a whole lot of reason for them to make those changes and to keep maintaining stuff. So I don't know. All I know is that I feel like probably Walt Disney wouldn't like what's going on. Not that I knew Walt Disney, but you know, I've learned a lot about the guy, and he's one of my personal creative heroes. But yeah, anyway, these posters, they look really nice. You can buy them in a 3-pack. They're like $85 or something outrageous, but they're nice. They do look very Star Warsy. But again, how cool would it be if they were, you know, there was a little bit more. There needs to be more Star Wars in Star Wars Land. And that's kind of a weird thing to say because you don't really say that about any other land at Disney. Other than Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland's just horrible. That needs to be completely redone. But like New Orleans Square, Frontierland, Adventureland, Fantasyland, like they all encapsulate what they're advertising. But Star Wars Land, Galaxy's Edge, not really. Not really. And it's not living up to its potential. It's not living up to its promise. So here's hoping that we see some changes there. I see a few folks have joined us here in the chat. So I'm going to see what's going on. Greg says FedEx guy pitched the blurg at his house. Oh boy. I'm sorry, Greg. That's horrible. Perfect timing for Halloween and fitting, I think, for us Dark Horse Spooky fans. Thank you, JJ. I don't know what that's referring to, but yeah, thanks. Mary pre-ordered the Death Trooper. I have no. That's cool. And like I said, if you're getting the Night Trooper, you're getting Captain Enoch and Grand Admiral Thrawn. That's going to make for a really cool display. A really cool display. Britt says, loving Doc Ondar and V. Marati there. I agree. Like those characters are nice, but they're not, I mean, like, you don't really see them very often. Like, if you get lucky, you might see one of them. But Doc Ondar, he's obviously an animatronic. Vi Marati, though, and like some of the other characters, like, they're just very fleeting. And when they're there, like when Rey's there or Kylo Ren's there, everybody's trying to get a picture, right? So it's kind of difficult. JJ, what's your favorite and least favorite thing about Galaxy's Edge in its present state? My favorite thing, I would say, is the shopping, because they do offer a lot of unique merchandise that you can't get on the Disney Store website. I would say the shopping, like they have that nailed down. I don't think they need to do anything more to the shopping. The shopping is great. My least favorite thing, I would say, is the lack of immersiveness. Just because there's not a lot of theming to make it Star Wars, unless you're standing in front of the Falcon, unless you're looking at a couple of, you're passing by some droids, or you're lucky enough to see the stormtroopers and Kylo Ren walking by. There's not a whole lot of immersiveness there. And I think that's what I don't, I think that's probably the thing I like the least. I think they need to work on the most. Yeah, the posters they're really cool. And they do very much they remind me of like the special edition posters. They just kind of have that vibe to them. They're really nice, but if only If only Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run was as exciting as the poster, or even the Galaxy's Edge one. Like, it's nice that it has some of those characters on it, but again, I mean, that's not like, it's fleeting. It's not like when you watch a movie and these characters are on screen the whole time. Like, you have to get lucky enough to just happen upon them, and they're not even there all the time. So it doesn't like accurately represent Galaxy's Edge. JJ likes the posters too. Shelf Scene says Lieutenant Beck should be featured on the Rise poster. I agree. I absolutely agree. Lieutenant Beck. Fanboy Cantina, how's it going? These designs are so good. They are. I was tempted to get these, but I don't know where I would put them. To be honest, like I really don't know where they would go. Avatar. Yeah, I know. You and me both, Brit. I mean, I don't know, you guys. I'm just not an Avatar fan. Like, I've seen the movies, good, but I have a weird light reflection hitting me in the face. But not really my thing. Not really my thing. It's like, and then there's like 4 more movies coming or something, 3 more movies. I don't even know how many, but yeah, it's kind of like they're really trying to make it like a thing, like an evergreen franchise kind of thing. And I don't know that it needs to be that, but I'm just one person. Fanboy Cantina, I've yet to make it to Galaxy's Edge. I hope you're able to get there. It's definitely worth checking out at least once. But I would, if you haven't been to Disneyland, like, the rest of Disneyland is better than Galaxy's Edge, but you obviously want to check out the whole thing if you go. How's it going, Charlie? Thank you for joining us. Britt, not to be that Disney adult that harps on children, but dear God, when a kid is the pilot, yeah, that's what I mean. I love that kids are able to have access to being the pilot, to being the engineer, to being the gunner, but that ride it needs to be a good experience for everybody. And when you don't have the best pilots, not that I'm a great pilot. I'm pretty bad at piloting the Falcon. I've only done it once and I was bad at it. It needs to be a great experience for everybody, not just the kids, not just certain people that are assigned the pilot. It needs to be a great experience for everybody. I think it fails at that. And that's my biggest issue with that ride. Shelf Scene, Smuggler's Run should be for only 2 people or something. They wanted to recreate the whole cockpit, which I get, but the game systems are just not fun. Balance for all roles there. It's not fun. That's a really important point. It's not fun. If you're even in the most laid back job, which I think is probably the engineer, all you're doing is pushing buttons, but you have to push them really quickly, right? They light up, there's alarms ringing, and you got to push them. And that's not really fun for me. I'm trying to get away from this glare. That's not really fun to be like under pressure to push buttons. That's not what we go to Disney for, right? We go for the escapism. We go for the thematic immersiveness of the attractions and the lands, and just the general escape that it provides to us. But so that's not like, I don't go so I can sit in a ride and just like hear alarms blaring and having to push these buttons, really quick. To me, that's just not fun. That's just like, that's boring. Greg, the cocky kids should always be on gunner. Yeah, maybe. I don't really know what the solution is. It reminds me a bit of in Cars Land over at California Adventure. They used to have this ride called Luigi's Flying Tires. And it was them updating the flying saucers from the 1950s and early 60s era of Disneyland, which was a really cool concept because these tires would float over like little jets of air that were pushing up, and they would float. And then you could just kind of like hover above it. They genuinely were kind of like flying saucers. But these were the tires version, and it was meant for 2 people. The problem was that people couldn't always get the hang of it. So a lot of the time people would just, they wouldn't know how to lean properly. So their tire would just stay in one place, or they'd get stuck. And because those people didn't really know how to do it, it took away from the fun of those who did know how to operate the tires, which it wasn't, I say operating, you're just leaning your body, shifting your body a certain way. And then the tire just like hovers above to the other side until you get bumped by somebody. So that's what I mean. Like attractions like that, where some people can do it and some can't, like that's not a good experience for anybody. So that's something they really need to look at. And they did remove those tires. I loved them personally, but they removed them and they replaced them with a synchronized, like trackless little car experience there, which isn't anything as unique, but it's consistent. So I guess on the whole, it's a better experience for most people. Toy binging. A lot of people, including cast members, share sentiment regarding the parks. I agree on Smuggler's Run. It's a lot of great buildup and kind of a letdown. Yeah, I mean, when you go in there the first time and you see the Falcon, it's like, wow, like my eyes, I teared up when I saw that the first time. And then you go on the ride, and I don't even like the queue that much. You know, like the queue is it's kind of, I don't know, it's not very exciting. It's just kind of very industrial, and there's no animatronics. If there were some robots or droids like moving around, kind of like in Star Tours, I think that would add quite a bit to that queue, but it's just a boring queue to be in. Dom, how's it going? Smuggler's Run is my favorite thing at Disneyland. I happen to love it and enjoy it immensely, especially near close with the extended asteroid section. Yeah, so if you're lucky on Smuggler's Run and there's some kind of a delay or something happens, they add an asteroid section at the very end of that ride. So you'll be there doing the regular ride in Smuggler's Run, but then they throw in like a little segment towards the end with asteroids. You got to blast the asteroids. And it has the music from Empire Strikes Back where they're going through the asteroid field. That's happened to me once. It's not bad. But again, everybody has a unique role, just like the whole rest of the experience. So it's not necessarily that fun either. But hey, it's a little bit extra. Extra magic is always good. Marino, how's it going? I have an annual pass. Each visit turns out to cost me $12.50 because I visit twice a week. On average, I spend $30 at the parks. You're more restrained than I am, my friend. Yeah, I used to live 20 minutes from Disneyland a long time ago. And I was there maybe every other week. I had an annual pass. That's when you could buy like the premium, ultimate, best annual pass, which included parking for like $500. And if you put it on a payment plan, it was like, it wasn't bad. It was like close to $40 a month. And if you go twice in a month, then, you know, it's paying for itself. Now, the passes that are of that caliber are like over $1,000. They're like probably closer to $1,500. And most of the passes don't include the parking anymore. So parking is $35 a person. I got really lucky with that this time though. Like I didn't get charged parking. I think they had an issue with the machine or something. I was trying to pay with a card, and they said, "Oh, it's on us today." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll take it. I'll spend that money on something else," which I did, and I'll show you guys in a little bit when we get to the new acquisitions segment. But yeah, no, that's cool. I think there's definitely ways to make it worth your while, and if so, then that's great. Steven, how's it going? Good to see you, Steven. The AT-AT in Florida Star Tours is sadly cooler than the whole sequel trilogy themed Galaxy's Edge for me. Yeah, I mean, I do like that part of Rise of the Resistance where they have the AT-ATs in there. Like, that's really cool. But yeah, there's the whole indoor feel of Hollywood Studios is pretty nice for Star Tours. Britt says, it'd be cool if the singer guy could have shows and Star Cruisers. That is a very good point, Britt. That's what I mean. Like there needs to be more. It needs to feel more Star Warsy. There needs to be more shows. There needs to be more entertainment. There needs to be more Star Wars and Star Wars, I guess. And I think that's a great idea. I think that would add a lot. How's it going, Baron? What did you think about Jenny Nicholson's 4-hour Star Wars hotel review? I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched a little bit of it, and I think it was pretty spot on. But yeah, 4 hours. It's hard to sit for me to sit through a 4-hour video on YouTube. Maybe I'll go back to it at some point. Shelf scenes of Galaxy's Edge came a few years later. It would have all been Mandoverse themed, which would be better, but I agree a OT theme would seem to be have the broader appeal. Yeah, the broader appeal I think is the most important thing when we're talking about like what kind of a Star Wars land do you build in your Disneyland theme park. I mean, I think in a perfect world they would have saved Star Wars Land and built it like in a different park. Because if you guys are familiar with the Disneyland Forward plan, they're looking at building more more theme park experiences like in a new plot of land, right? That's kind of close to the existing parks here in California. I think that would have been better suited towards it being its own thing rather than, you know, cannibalizing other aspects of the original park. But you know, it is what it is. They already did what they did, right? But yeah, so I mean, I agree. I think if it came out a little bit later, it probably would have been like more Mandoverse, which I think would have been better. That would have been a better era for sure. But yeah, I think OT would probably have the broader appeal, definitely. Marina says, I walk around listening to Star Wars music with my headphones. There you go. Maybe that's what we need to start doing. Hey, Jason, good morning. Good to see you. Road Killer. We need droids and creatures walking around Galaxy's Edge. Yeah, and they were going to do that originally. They had planned to do more walk around characters and costumes and aliens and droids, and as often happens, they scrapped it from the budget. JJ, they should find a way to incorporate Han and Chewie and Revive Smuggler's Run, maybe like a flight or mission to Endor and back or something. Yeah, so they're changing it to the Mandalorian. I don't know exactly when, but they announced that they would be doing that. I assume maybe next year. I just hope it's Pedro Pascal voicing Mando, because in Star Tours, it's not. If you get the little brief bit where he comes up, it's not Pedro Pascal, and it's very obvious that it's not. So I just hope that they're able to get his voice for the updated version. And then you have the whole other thing. It's like, okay, now it's the Mandalorian in this sequel trilogy land, right? So I don't know how that works. That's what I mean. They need to place it a little bit better, or maybe you don't even give it like a time frame, or maybe you give certain areas of Star Wars land a time frame. Rise of the Resistance can stay sequel trilogy. It's just a small area. And then as you move in, like maybe it becomes more OT, and then it becomes more like Mando era. I don't know. There's different ways you could go about it. Britt, I kind of find it unfortunate that having well-known characters in Galaxy's Edge kind of messes with the storytelling and roleplay. Like when Mando's walking around, people just want photo ops and they get mobbed. I think having via new characters like that, where you could go on missions with them without getting stopped, it'd be cool. Yeah, that's a tough one. Because if you watch Star Wars, I mean, it's silly, but if you watch Star Wars, there's not people trying to take pictures with the characters. So that kind of takes you out of it a little bit, but it's the same thing, I guess, anywhere in Disneyland. There's people wanting to take pictures with Peter Pan or with the evil queen from Snow White, or, you know, Tiana, or just whomever. So I don't really know what the solution is for that. I think the solution for that is to have them walled off from guests. You know, you just have like a barrier, and then maybe that way people can't like be going up to them for a selfie. Like you just have like a barrier, and then you do a show, or you have guests like maybe it's a charged experience. You got to pay to do like another thing with them, or you have to reserve to do something with them. But I think there's areas they can explore there with that, which I think could be interesting. But yeah, I think the main thing is you got to get there's got to be some barrier that separates them from people just trying to follow them around and take pictures, because that happens a lot. The crowds just swarm around the characters. They're trying to keep in character. Like you see Rey like trying to get from one spot to another to just kind of create that world building. But then, you know, somebody stops Rey for a selfie, and it just kind of like throws the whole thing off. So there needs to be some sort of barrier, I think, if they're going to go that route. Jason, wish they could have had special weekends where they allow legacy characters to appear, that it takes place outside a sequel trilogy timeline. Yeah, I mean, that's an idea too. That's something they could also do. Jedi Greedo, I want Disney to add a lot of OT elements, but they could definitely do so much with an immersive Coruscant area. Yeah, that's tricky because all of Galaxy's Edge is the planet Batuu, so I don't know how you would do that. It'd probably have to be like an indoor kind of thing. And you know, as you guys may know, Star Wars Land wasn't originally going to be what it is now. The original plan was to retheme like half of Tomorrowland to Star Wars. It was going to be where the Innoventions building is today, which used to be the Carousel of Progress back in the 60s. And then the submarine voyage, like now it's Finding Nemo, but the submarine voyage, all that area was going to be torn out and replaced with it was going to be rethemed to Endor. And they were going to have speeder bikes, a speeder bike attraction where the speeder bike was like connected like with the little thing like onto a track. Not too dissimilar from what they did with Tron in some of the parks. But it was going to be singular. So you would be able to get on the speeder bike and it would take you through this whole area on a speeder bike through Endor. Which sounds like a great ride. I'd still love to see something like that, but not at the expense of the submarines and, you know, a big part of the original Tomorrowland. But that's what it was supposed to be originally. But then as the sequels were coming up and they just changed and they said, hey, let's just do a whole land and we'll make it in 2 different parks. And that's what they ended up doing, which probably, I guess, maybe that's the better thing to do. But here we are talking about the shortcomings of it. So it wasn't necessarily ideal either. Stephen, could you imagine the original Kenner Toys theme park, life-size Kenner Cantina, life-size Ewok Village, life-size Death Star? Interesting. Very interesting. Brit Avatar, as a movie, didn't do it for me. Now that it has rides everywhere, it just all feels like too much. Yeah, it does feel like too much. And like I was saying, California Adventure, you know, they're adding Avatar. How's that California? And that's another thing I haven't even talked about, you guys, is that the red car trolley, there's this attraction called the red car trolley in California Adventure. And it's been there since 2012. So a little bit of really quick California Adventure history. California Adventure opened in 2001. Originally in the 90s, it was conceived as being Westcott, like a West Coast version of Epcot. But then they decided, no, it's going to cost too much. We're not going to do that. So what they ended up doing is they changed it to California Adventure, and they just threw a bunch of carnival rides together in some areas. They did a couple of dark rides like Superstar Limo, which is kind of recognized as one of the worst rides of all time. They just cobbled together a bunch of different things and called it California Adventure. The entrance was made to look like a postcard with the word California, the letters like spelled out, and then a sun, and then like it looked like a postcard. It was, but it just wasn't doing it. It was almost automatically like disliked by a lot of people. So back in like 5 years after that, they started making plans to change the park, and they did. They added Cars Land, which is amazing. I love Cars Land. It's one of my favorite things to do. They rethemed their pier area to be more like a California in the 1930s. And that's one of the things they did when they rebranded California Adventure is they made it different decades of Walt Disney's life, which I think was a great approach. You walk into Buena Vista Street, it's Los Angeles in the 1920s when Walt first arrives there, and they even have their storyteller statue where it's Walt right next to Mickey. And then they did the Grizzly Peak area where they have like the Soarin' Over the World ride. They did that like 1950s, like California parks. And then they did the boardwalk area, like I said, like 1930s pier type thing. And then there was a plan to redo what's the Hollywood backlot. They wanted to do that, like redo all those buildings so that they fit Buena Vista Street. Instead of being a backlot, it would be like a proper Hollywood area, just Hollywood from the 1920s and 30s, which would have been awesome. Golden age, right? They never got around to the back lot, but they did all the other stuff, and they added the red car trolley to California Adventure. Now, the red car trolley actually existed in Los Angeles back during that era, the 20s, 30s, I think all the way through the 60s. And then what happened is, as you know, big oil and these tire manufacturers like Goodyear started becoming so prominent, they kind of conspired, honestly, to have the red car trolley torn out in LA, the real one. And so that's what happened. So they got rid of it. And now to pay homage to it, California Adventure in 2012, when the retheme was opened of the park, they brought back those trolleys. And it's just one of those really, like, it's not the most exciting attraction by any means, but it's one of those things that's meant to give life to and serve a greater purpose beyond what it is as an isolated attraction. It's kind of like when you go to Main Street in Disneyland and you see like the horse-drawn carriages and you see the double-decker bus. It's just one of those things that's meant to give some kinetic energy and life to that area. And that's what the red car trolley did to California Adventure, to that entrance when it was rethemed to 1920s and 30s Los Angeles. But they announced that the whole Avengers area that they're going to be doing, the whole Marvel Land, back at D23 this year. But what they didn't tell you is that in order to build the Stark Industries ride and the Avengers Multiverse ride, that they have to do away with the red car trolley. So once again, it's facing extinction, just like the original did. After being in operation for a very short time, when you consider like how old theme parks can be. Opened in 2012 and then closing at the very start of 2025. Now, I had a conversation with some of the folks that were I got to ride the trolley. It may have been my last time, but I wanted to make sure I got on there. So I did that. I got on the trolley. I went like for the Grand Circle little. I mean, it's not like a long ride, but it's like 20 minutes or so to go all the way around. And I had a really nice time doing that. And I'll just share my picture here with the three very nice red trolley operators who were very nice. They were very kind. And, I talked to them a little bit about that. Yeah, they were bummed out. One of them told me, yeah, we've been here as a crew for 6 years and they're getting rid of the red trolley. And that's what I mean. It's the red trolley, right? It has a very historical, it represents something that is historical and real that plays into the California Adventure name. But now because of big franchises like Marvel, it's being removed. And the reason it's being removed, the exact reason, is that where they're building the new Avengers Land area is where the barn that houses these trolleys, the maintenance shop, is located. So because they have to remove that maintenance shop, they're just removing the trolley altogether, which I think is really unfortunate. But anyway, I just want to give a shout out to these gentlemen. They let me pull the horn in the trolley. They let me ring the bell. And that was really cool of them to do. And we had a nice little chat about the trolley going away. So shout out to those guys for making it, a little, just giving me a little more Disney magic in my day in light of that horrible news. But that's what I mean. Like talking about Avatar, it's like, it doesn't even make sense. It's just strange. And California Adventure isn't really California Adventure anymore. They should just change it to Adventure, or they should change it to, I don't know, Disney's World of Adventure Park or World of Wonder Park. I don't know, but it's the same thing that happened like in 2001, but now in reverse, right? It's like it's going away from what they were trying to build up to back in 2012 when they reopened the park with the new theme. So what can you do? I think the bigger part of all this is that people like Imagineers or people at the corporate level, especially at Disney, they're there for a little while. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but they're there for a little while and they move on. So the ones that are good, maybe that made some of these positive changes, they're gone and then they get replaced. Time passes, and they're like, oh, let's do this instead. And you see that now more than ever, just like with the whole corporate aspect of companies like Disney, which is unfortunate. I can really feel this not having a guest on in my voice. Let's see, what else do we got here? Princess Mai, how's it going? Good to see you. It says, being an Avatar in the last Airbender fanatic means that I have to beef with James Cameron Avatar. Yeah. Delvian Seek, I have not been to Galaxy's Edge. When I dreamed of a Star Wars theme park as a child, I wanted a speeder bike through Endor, Jabba's palace. I don't think they could ever meet my expectations. I don't think so either. Came close with the speeder bike ride. Came close. DCA's when you get a park hopper. Yeah. That's the upcharge. You pay to go to Disneyland, but then you pay a little more to go to California Adventure. It's true, Jason. How Runner Base, how's it going? Nice to see they planned my dream ride and stop. Yeah, that's what I mean. Jason, imagine a Hut Dias roaming around Galaxy's Edge. That would be cool, like in Book of Boba Fett. Can you imagine if Jabba had an immersive outpost or layer at Galaxy's Edge? That'd be interesting, Adam. Britt, I get emotional. Rise of Resistance every time Rey shows up. Yeah. We're just adding 2 cast members to the Cantina dressed as aliens would go so far. Maybe aliens have one droid roaming just outside, having Garandan all hooded up and walking around the land with his communicator. I love that idea, Rick. Like if Garandan was, or something that looked like Garandan was, going around just kind of like looking at guests and walking up to them and then walking away or just hiding in the corners, like that's the kind of like storytelling that Galaxy's Edge really needs. Like those little elements, those little details, they're not hard to do. You just got to be willing to do them. I love that idea. Toy binging at every Disney park, every restaurant, attraction, outdoor food vendor, etc. must fit into a story. That's difficult to do with Star Wars because of the different eras and timelines. Mixing doesn't fit. Yeah, it's tough because Star Wars is so vast, right? Like the timeline of the story it's not focused to like, a half a decade or a decade. It's like spans of decades, centuries, and even millennia if you go into like expanded universe and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. I guess if you can't mix, then you really got to play to the broader appeal and kind of make it more OT based, I would say. Mary, not sure if you heard, but Blitzway made an announcement last night that they are participating in the Shanghai Wonder Festival next week and have 1/6 Ghostbuster figures on the docket. I had not heard that, Mary. I don't know if I know that some company made those in 6 scale. If it wasn't Blitzway, I'm not sure who it was. Was it maybe like 3-0 or one of those other companies? And they were okay. But hey, I'm all for more Ghostbusters. I don't have any 6 scale Ghostbusters, but if they looked great, had great likenesses, and were like at Hot Toys sort of level, then I might be tempted. All right. So I think we're going to shift gears here. I will show you guys what I bought at Disney. Just not yet. I'm going to wait for new acquisitions to do that. All right, we're going to go ahead and switch topics. Let's go to last figure standing. Star Wars, the Vintage Collection, last figure standing. I'm going to go ahead and pull up banthaschool.com. My friends Chris and Brett at Banthaschool. All right. So last figure standing, as you guys know, submissions were closed, and they've been sorting through the data. And I know Chris has been like really sorting through this data. I think he's done now, but very time consuming. And he announced this week that this year, last figure standing is going to have a top 12, not a top 10, a top 12. And if you read the article at banthaschool.com, he goes into reasons why, because some of the votes were so close that it just, they almost fell within the margin of error, so to speak. In the article, Chris says, sometimes people, when they say they want an Asajj Ventress figure, they don't specify like which era. So he has to make a judgment call on okay, probably it's going to be the Clone Wars because that's the most recognizable, most known version of Asajj. But because sometimes he has to make those calls, basically in the article, he explains that this year is going to be a top 12 instead of a top 10 because some of those votes were so close. And the only way to do it in an unbiased way would be to do that. So if we look at the schedule for last figure standing, we're going to see where things are at. And if you didn't catch it, I was on the launch party a couple weeks back, and that was an absolute blast. So thanks again, guys, for having me on. But yeah, just to look at the schedule here. I'm going to pull up the schedule so you guys know where things are at as of right now. Things are happening in a specific order. If you recall to last year, there was the voting on the different parts of the timeline. So Chris just finished with the sorting of the data, and there were over 1,400 submissions. So really appreciate everybody that sent a list to those guys. Thank you for doing that. Here's the calendar right here. So today's the 28th. Submissions are being tallied and finalized. And on October 5th, there will be a live stream for the top 5 unveiling. So that'll be next Saturday. And round 1 of voting will commence immediately at that point. So we'll get to see what the top 12 submissions were as voted on by fans. And I wanted to talk a little bit about last figure standing. I wanted to talk a little bit about the vintage collection community and some stuff that I've been seeing, and that honestly isn't really anything new, but I think is something that needs to be spoken to nonetheless. So, I've said before that us as collectors, it's a very niche type thing, right? Star Wars, I wouldn't say on a whole is a niche thing. It's probably the biggest fandom out there, or one of them at the very least. Maybe Marvel's bigger. I don't know. And because it's a niche within a niche, so to speak, it's unfortunate that, I've been seeing some of what I've been seeing. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Essentially, collecting is a niche, but TVC collecting is a niche within a niche within a niche, I suppose. We get so few items per year for Star Wars: The Vintage Collection that negativity and divisiveness and toxicity does nothing but harm the line and harm what we do as a hobby. There's more than one, but there are folks with YouTube channels or with Instagrams or in this community that are putting out very inaccurate and potentially harmful messaging and rhetoric with regards to the TVC collecting community, and more specifically to the folks that are in charge of running Last Figure Standing. Now, like I said, Last Figure Standing nobody is forced to do these things. Hasbro is not paying banthaskull.com or Tim from Bosk's Bounty or John from the TVC Facebook group to do these things. Nobody is sending them merchandise or favors for them to do. This is something that is very time consuming. This is a process that is very challenging and taxing, and it's not something that necessarily is a lot of these folks I'm referring to deserve, because people are putting blood, sweat, and tears into this process. They're doing it because they're fans. They're doing it out of the passion for this hobby, the passion of collecting, the love of Star Wars, the love of this hobby that a lot of us have been doing for decades now. It's been practically my whole life. And I know, Chris and Brett at Bantha School, their whole lives. And, anytime the fan community can put something like this together, there's so much that goes into it, and it's all voluntary, and it's all out of the passion and the love for this hobby, right? There's a showmanship that has to go into this, right? The live streams, the graphics, the whole thing, the whole shebang. And what I've been seeing is on certain accounts, and like I said, there's more than one, is harmful messaging from certain folks in the community, certain entities in the community that are inaccurately representing Last Figure Standing and certain people in the community inaccurately. Part of what I'm seeing is, certain folks are saying that Last Figure Standing is rigged, that people are, like Chris, sorting through the data, are putting their own biases into who wins, that the Tonica sisters were somehow like rigged because they won last year. The data is the data, and that's the way that things work sometimes. It may not be your version of what your number one pick or your top 10 picks are, but the data is the data, right? It's a community-wide thing. Anybody can do an entry for Last Figure Standing. Anybody can submit their own list. And if your list doesn't match up with what a majority of people are voting for or have on their lists, then that's just your own personal interests don't align with the interests of the community at large. It's as simple as that. So when I see people saying that, people like Bantha School is rigging the process, or they are letting their own personal wants influence the outcomes, that's just ludicrous. That's just conspiratorial. It's asinine. It is ridiculous. If you want to talk about integrity, I can't think of any website, any outlet in the community with higher integrity than banthaskull.com. I honestly cannot. They've been at this for decades. They've put so much work into this for the sheer love of it. You go to that website, there's no narrative, there's no politics, there's no, there's no divisiveness like that you might see in other websites that focus on Star Wars or social media. So if you want to talk about integrity, that in and of itself goes way beyond those claims, those ideas that there's a lack of integrity in this process. Chris and Brett are friends. I've known them for years. And I know that this process is being done solely based on the data, right? The data is the data. That's what people are submitting. The results are what people want. And I have no doubt that when the top 12 are presented, that you're going to see more of this. Oh, it's rigged. Oh, they're just, trying to get their favorites in. No. If you're making that claim, you are flat out mistaken. You're wrong. And you want to talk about integrity. Well, what in this hobby and in collecting, what is integrity? Is integrity going on your Instagram account or your YouTube channel or your website and professing your own personal ideas as being gospel, as being 100% the only way? Is integrity saying that, oh, these other people, they're old, the things that they want don't align with the rest of the community? First of all, obviously not, because if the data says that your own personal wants don't align with that, then you're the one who's out of sync with the community, not the others. And secondly, I mean, where's the integrity in name calling and saying that people are old or over the hill? They're even saying I'm old. Got you guys, I'm old. They're saying that I'm old. Maybe I am, but like, shoot, like where does it end? So yeah, just certain folks in the community that, maybe they have a shtick, maybe they have a certain tone they're trying to set that includes that personality of just being negative and bitter and divisive. And I don't know what it is. I mean, like I always say, at the end of the day, this is a hobby. We're all here collecting, buying, talking about what we're collecting on these shows like this and on our websites and Instagrams and whatnot, because it's a hobby that we love, that we've grown up with, that we appreciate. And it's about toys, right? It's about collecting. It's about a hobby. It's something that is so not important. It's important to us, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that important. So just I don't understand where these folks come from when they're putting out these narratives. I mean, where's integrity in that? I mean, if your personality is to go online and just be negative and say name call people and call into question their dignity and the way that they handle certain processes, I don't know what to tell you other than hopefully people that are following you can see through that and understand that. I mean, and if you want to call people old, well, there's a wisdom that comes along with doing things for a long period of time. That maybe, if you're of a certain lower age, you haven't quite attained. Maybe there's some of that. Either way, there's no need to be ageist. There's already enough things in this world that divide us and try to separate us and try to put us into categories that I don't think this hobby needs it. And I think when you're talking about a niche within a niche type hobby like TVC collecting, that you're doing a lot of harm by spewing these kinds of, this kind of toxic rhetoric and this kind of bitterness. And I think some of it honestly stems from some level of jealousy, perhaps. I'm not sure. Organize your own poll, organize your own, give up some of your own weekends and some of your own free time to do your own thing and see where that takes you. If you really, think that you can do it better, have at it. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I just, it's just really unfortunate that folks like this continue to propagate and to put out their rhetoric out there that, against others in the community, when I know full well, and I'm sure most of you know full well, that those folks that they're calling into question are some of the utmost stand-up, great people in this community that have the experience, the patience, the dedication, and the love for this line and for this hobby that we all claim to have. So stop. I know you're going to continue, but freaking A, stop it. It's just really bad. I really do think that it's harmful because it drives a narrative that isn't necessarily true, and it pushes these ideas out there that other people buy into and subscribe to. And when you're talking about something like the vintage collection, which already has a limited budget, is throwing out mixed signals and is going to ultimately harm things at the end of the day. All right. So, we need to come to a point where that just stops, and we're working together as a community, as a whole, to keep pushing for the betterment of TVC. It doesn't need to be OT versus, new media versus, people were accusing me of that. And, look at my last figure standing top 10. There's a little bit of everything in there. There's some Acolyte, there's some prequels, but it doesn't matter. Whatever my list is, that would be my list. Whatever your list is, that is your list. There's no need to criticize people for what they want, their own collecting wants are. And if you find that at the end of the day, the data shows that maybe it's more people are asking for certain things than what you have on your own personal list, maybe it's your list that's not in line with the wants and desires of the TVC collecting community. So, lots of elements here, lots of things at play, but at the end of the day, positivity, optimism, patience, and life's too short for that kind of stuff, you guys. We got to be positive. We got to work together. And I hope that, if you are following some of these folks, that you're not buying into what they're trying to sell you, because it's not accurate. It's not true. And they're doing a disservice to the greater community at large when we try to come together to do things like Last Figure Standing or March Madness or whatever it is, Q&As that may be asked at certain events. It's supposed to be representative of the community, right? It's supposed to be the community. It's called the community because it's the community, right? And if you have aspects of the community that are negative and toxic, well, what happens anytime there's negativity and toxicity? It spreads, right? It goes around. And when it's not factual and it's inaccurate and it's intending to do harm and it's intending to be ageist and it's intending to discredit, when none of those, are being fairly applied, then that's when the real harm comes in. So just wanted to put that out there. Because that's been bothering me lately. And there's one thing that I hate more than anything. It's injustice and seeing it. And that's 100% what I'm seeing from some of these folks in the community. So I'm going to do another run through the comments, and then we're going to get into our last segment, the new acquisitions. So let me go ahead and pull in here and see what is being talked about. Okay, Blitzway. Oh, so 2.0. Thank you, Mary. Britt. Hobbies supposed to be fun. Yeah, hobbies are supposed to be fun by definition, right? But not always the case. Has just returned from a shopping trip out with a TVC Deluxe for Sam. Very cool, Adam. And good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Britt says, I feel like watching or reading anything from Chris, John, etc. You all can see how nerdy they are about data, stats, etc. Suggesting they fudge the numbers is laughable. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. I mean, if you listen to what's being what Chris or John and Tim are saying like about this process, it's a very fair process. It's based solely on data. It's not. Like I said, the data is the data, and if you want to disagree with the data, well, then maybe you're wrong, right? Maybe angry people are going to yelling blue murder, sadly. Yeah. Delvian Seek. Some people just aren't happy unless they are moaning and tearing down the efforts of others. That is a very good point. We have people like that in the world that exist, for sure. It's unfortunate, but they exist, right? And if they didn't exist, we wouldn't be having conversations like this. Marino, who started operating Last Figure Standing. So that's John Miko from the Star Wars Vintage Collection Facebook group. Chris and Brett from banthaskull.com. and Tim from Bosk's Bounty. And, others of us have been helping to spread the word and appearing on their live streams and doing our part to ensure that everybody's voice is captured by casting as wide a net as possible for lists to be received and tallied and sorted through. Because when you have the most data possible, you have a better representation of what it is that people are asking for. Rick, I've been in this hobby a long time. The world is a darker place now. I am very selective with how I set up my subscriptions and follows on socials. I don't support hate or false claims. Thank you. And yeah, I know that's true. And yeah, you got to be selective of who you choose to follow these days, for sure. My coffee is almost out. Does that mean that coffee hour is almost over? Not yet. Not yet. Adam, public attack is just a toxic way to draw attention to oneself. Most of my picks never make it through these processes, but it doesn't diminish their value. Well said. And I agree. I definitely agree. Sometimes people project onto themselves a sort of mythology or a personality that, for whatever reason, they feel needs to be fed by being negative and being toxic. And I think that's what we see in some of these cases. Britt, when you guys all showed your lists, you literally said every time, this is my personal list. This is not meant to sway anyone. Yeah. I mean, we all want different things, right? When we're talking about toy lines, those are our personal wants. You know, if they align with 90% of the collecting community, then so be it. If they don't, then so be it. My personal list, I mean, Kira, probably not going to happen. Kira was on my list. Probably not going to happen. But so was The Stranger. So was Anakin. I mean, and those people want those, right? So, I mean, it's meant to be your list because it's your list, right? Nobody's telling you what to put on your list. Let's see, Riley Bob. I think the only way it can be considered rigged is the demographic of audience of said channels. Bantha Boss skew older collectors, SWTVC skew younger, but data is data at the end of the day. Yeah, and that's what I mean, like casting the widest net possible, and that is what they're trying to do. This is being shared across social media, has been shared. You know, I think each person in the community definitely does maybe attract different demographics of collectors. And some of us have a little bit more of a cross-generational draw, but the whole thing is spreading the word, right? And I think that they've been doing a really good job of trying to spread the word, and, you know, the rest of us, you know, doing what we can to help spread the word. And there's over 1,400 submissions. So, I mean, that's a pretty wide catch. I would also say that, you know, maybe if you are catering to a demographic that has kind of moved on from Star Wars collecting, you know, you're probably not going to be submitting a list like this. So I think just in terms of who's on the internet, who's on their phones, who's on their computers at all times, I think you're more prone to capturing more data from younger generations. That's my guess. I don't have any data to back that up. That's just my personal opinion. Adam, hobbies are there to be in service of the hobbyist, and if someone gets so riled up about it, they maybe should have a reality check. Yes, go out and touch grass. It's very important to get outside and talk to people that are outside. Go look at the birds for a little bit. Maybe they think the negativity will get them views and likes. There appears to be a lot of that. Yeah, that is true. There is absolutely a lot of that. There's YouTube channels. There's a lot of folks like that negative for the sake of being negative, for the sake of clicks and likes and revenue. It's unfortunate that that's where we are as a society, but that's where we are as a society. And I don't really know how you combat that other than, you know, that not being rewarded the way it is on platforms like YouTube. Britt, in that case, these folks should make their own event for voting if they think they'll reach a different audience, we'll get different results. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like do your own thing, right? But also make sure if you do your own thing, cast a wide net. Get 1,400 submissions, get as many people as you can on board. Because if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. There's a lot that goes into all that. Jason, maybe I'm old, but always be a child at heart. It's been like a 20 years. Dodgson will obviously late to the Cantina barge. I'll run her base at the end of the day. People are going to people, and that's fair. Everyone is entitled to have an opinion, voice it. Absolutely. Everybody is entitled to have an opinion, voice it, but you can't. There is such a thing as putting out opinions and ideas and presenting them as facts when in actuality you're just trying to slander or name call others. And I think most reasonable people can see through that. And if that's what somebody's doing, then we got to call them out, because they're going to keep doing it. And they'll probably still keep doing it either way, but it's not going unnoticed is what I would say. Like, if you're putting out stuff that's not wrong, it's slanderous, it's incorrect, and it calls into question the dignity and integrity of people that we have every reason in the world to know is not the case, then you're just being slanderous, and that is outright wrong, illegal in some cases. Dodgson, I just returned from the flea market, sadly empty-handed. Let's see. Hey, Trevor, how's it going? Cool. Last Year stand. Victoria's sharing about people whining about Last Year. Okay, you're talking about, okay. Yeah, the replay will be up when the show's over, so you guys, if you missed any parts, you're welcome to go back. Let's see. Road Killer, all of us old people have vehicles and play sets that need figures to complete scenes. That's why the OT figures rule these lists. I think there's some truth to that. I mean, they started even like the Rogue One crew or just whatever it is. There's different elements, but yeah, they've made more for the original trilogy and the prequels in pretty close numbers, I would say, when you look at the modern Star Wars action figure toy line. So we definitely need things to finish out those sets, right, that we've been collecting for the things that people cry for the most, like Make the Mains, like even the prequels. Like, it's because we've been buying those for decades now, and we still don't have definitive versions of those characters. So they absolutely need to be updated. Yeah, I'm sure a lot. I want new characters too from new media, but when you look at the crews that we have, when you look at the vehicles we have and the play sets from older lines that align more with the original trilogy and prequel trilogy, then we absolutely want we need to finish certain things in there. 17 Testament Donate. There are some phenomenal custom creators out there. Hazard doesn't make the figure that you want. You can still get. That is true. That is true. There are lots of customs out there. Britt says, very unfortunate that algorithms on most sites tend to support and prop up negativity, rants, and bashing people. Yeah, it's sad that that's where we are. Dodgson, I mean, look whose figures goes on top. If it ain't my choices, I would not get so butthurt about it. It was fun. I loved everyone's engagement. I won't take it too seriously. Good attitude to have. There would be a whole lot less complaining and push for what they really want. I know, right? The irony. I didn't back the Cantina because I felt like it wasn't from my collection. Still got flack from some people. Seems like some people are too passionate and need to calm down and get along. There has been an element that I saw during the Cantina campaign of people that backed like the Ghost or the Razor Crest, like actively rallying against the Cantina. Whereas when it was the opposite, when people that were more inclined to buy the Cantina or the Sail Barge were less interested in the Ghost or the Razor Crest, those folks weren't saying, oh, don't back the Ghost, don't back the Razor Crest. It's interesting because it's more like, from what I've seen, and I'm sure there's both of it out there. From what I've seen, there was more of the the Cantina's horrible, Tonica scissors are terrible, like kind of thing than it was. When it comes to the vintage collection, like I've been repeating, it's a niche within a niche within a niche. It's such a small thing. It gets a limited budget. We all say we want more figures. We want more of this. We want more of that. We need to rally together. We need to work together. And we can't be trying to like be petty. And when it comes to a HasLab, if you don't want to buy the HasLab, fine. But going out there and saying, oh, you're just buying the Cantina because you're old. Who wants the Cantina? The Cantina sucks. Like, what? That's just unnecessary. That's uncalled for, and it's immature. And if you're saying people are old, well, I mean, what does that show when you're acting like that? Yeah, I mean, people. It's just really unfortunate. We need to rally together, and I wasn't. I've backed every TVC HasLab, but that doesn't mean that I would back every TVC HasLab from here on out. Probably I would. I'm not going to kid myself. Probably I would. But if there was something I wasn't interested in, I can't think of what that could be right now. If there was something I wasn't interested, I would still post about it. I would still put in my story. I would still support those who want it. And if I didn't want it, I didn't want it. But I wouldn't be out there actively campaigning against something that a lot of people in the community would want, and that would benefit the line as a whole. By meaning we continue to get HasLabs. All it's going to take is one HasLab to fail for us not to get any more HasLabs for a long time. Look at what happened after the Rancor. That's all it's going to take. It's not going to be the kind of thing where, oh, this one TVC HasLab didn't back, let's try another one in 6 months. You're going to see a big delay. When they come out with something new, it's probably not going to be quite to the caliber of what we're accustomed to with HasLabs. And it's probably not going to be something that has the same level of broad appeal. So if you don't like something, don't buy it. But actively campaigning for something to fail within this line that you're collecting and claiming to be passionate about and wanting more from, that's just a high level of foolishness. Make another cup of coffee. I'd have to disappear, Greg, and I don't have a co-panelist, a co-host today to do that, so I can't do that. I'm gonna have to finish this cup here. If Chris, John, etc. want to demand certain figures, they already have a platform and following to do so. Will happily share what they would like to see. The whole point of Last Figure Standing is to engage community. There you go. As simple as that. Thank you, Adam. Yeah. We all have our own personal wants and desires. I mean, you guys know the Tonica sisters, right? I mean, that was my thing. They're happening. And that's not just because I asked for them, obviously. We had a petition. We had a bunch of websites come together. We had Angela herself, the one holdout actress that had the power for one of these figures to happen. All of the stars had to align for that to happen. And I guarantee you those figures were already in development before Last Figure Standing last year. So it wasn't because of any one thing that made those figures happen. But at the end of the day, like Adam is saying, we all have our own personal wants. And we have our own reasons for having our personal wants. And I don't think we should have to justify those reasons. If we want something that's going to fill a hole in our collection that we haven't had for decades, that's fair. All right. Just as fair as it is to say, oh, I really enjoyed this new show and I enjoyed this new character and I want a figure of that character. That's all it has to be. And that is completely separate from Last Figure Standing, which that's pulling the whole community together, gathering submissions, and seeing what the community is asking for in that moment of time. It always changes. We know that. It always changes. But in this moment of time, what is it that the community is asking for? And let's have Hasbro see that. Maybe everybody's asking for the Stranger. Maybe everybody's asking for Ponkrell. Maybe everybody's asking for a new C-3PO. I don't know. But like I said, the data is the data, and you got to be able to separate personal wants from the community wants. And if it doesn't align with what you want, resorting to name calling and bickering and negativity isn't doing you a service, not doing anybody a service. Let's see. I'm another year wiser. In fact, Greg, is that true? Is today the day? I'm going to check. I am going to check right now. Greg, is it your birthday, Greg? If so, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Greg. I'll pass that message along to you in a more personalized way in a little bit. Right to an opinion is one thing. Only informed opinions have value. There you go. That is a very important point. You guys are raising some really good points today that I haven't vocalized yet. Everybody is entitled and has the right to have their opinion and to voice that opinion. However, if your opinion is misinformed, if your opinion is meant to divide, if your opinion is meant to spread misinformation, then your opinion isn't going to hold any water, right? And it's not just like that with toys. It's like that with anything. I'm glad that you're here, Adam. I know that Adam Midolinsky. I know that because I'm on right now, you're able to join us. I'm glad that you're here. Yeah, thank you. The lack of sand. I hate sand. I really do hate sand. I'm not just saying that. I really don't like sand. I like going to the beach, but I don't like sand. It's hard to walk in. It can be very hot. Gets in your clothes. It gets everywhere. It really does. It's really annoying. Anakin was right. He wasn't right about everything. I can tell you that. He was right about sand. All the cloners making fun of OT fans. I didn't know nerds can be bullies. Anybody can be a bully with the wrong attitude. Any chatter about the Ghost release date? I wish I knew Rogue Killer. It's been crickets on that. I'm anxiously awaiting news for that. I don't know. I wish we would get some sort of an update from Hasbro. I mean, even if it's just like, we haven't forgotten. We want to let you know the latest ETA is that it's coming in January. Whatever it is, I don't know that it's January. I'm just saying, as an example, some communication would be appreciated. Because it has, remember the barge? They sent us those books and they had updates of like the colored barge after the paint was added, and they were updating us, and they're not, and the Razor Crest, and they're not doing that with the Ghost, which is a little frustrating. We already paid for the Ghost. We already paid for these things, right? We paid a lot of money for these things. Now we're just waiting. So a little communication would go a long way, in my opinion. However, base, I'm all in, already committed to every single HasLab. We got 4 out of 4 now. Very nice. Bought 2 deluxe cantinas. Hopefully I can buy some more alcoves. I'll be able to expand other TVC displays. Nice. I'm fully committed to buying a HasLab Cantina Solar Sailor. Nice, Greg. Yeah, that would be a I kind of always, I wouldn't say it's my most wanted thing, but I always thought about, like, why haven't they made the solar sailor? Like back during the prequel era, like you would think that would have been the time, but probably not going to happen. All the different desire ranges from different fans or different eras basically proves how there's something in Star Wars for everyone. And if not, yeah, no worries. Check back, see what the future holds. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's always new Star Wars content coming. Bad distribution from big companies has fans fighting amongst themselves. Hey, Bender, how's it going? I disagree with that. I don't think that it's the distribution that has fans fighting. I think it's fans fighting because, some people are being negative and they're saying things that are quite toxic, and they're being disingenuous. And I think that's more than anything else. That's what it is. And also, people just having these platforms to hide behind on Instagram or Twitter or wherever, and not having to show their face, not having to talk to people like I'm doing now, and being unwilling to hold a level-headed, logical, reasonable dialogue. When you can hide behind a social media account, nobody knows what you look like, nobody knows who you are. You can say whatever you want, and there's no repercussions for that. So I think that's a big part of what that is. Awesome. Well, again, happy birthday, Greg. Greg is one of the coolest people that I know. Lifelong collector, loves the Gungan submarine. Hopefully he gets the Gungan submarine one day. Happy birthday, Greg. I'm really happy to hear that. And I'll hit you up in a little bit, and we'll chat again. But yeah, happy birthday. And I see lots of happy birthday wishes in the chat for you, Greg, as well. Usually don't get a chance to catch the VC live because of time zones, but right now it's 1914 here. Did someone share online that it's coming December? The Ghost? Not that I heard. Maybe I missed it. I miss news sometimes. It happens. That would be interesting. Jam says February. I mean, I have no clue, but the fact that they've been silent about it tells me that there's been some production, some delays of some sort. Whether that's in getting them made, whether that's in some sort of an issue, I don't know. But the fact that there's just been silence and there hasn't been any updates, it kind of tells me they don't know exactly when it's coming. And, there must be something going on. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing going on. It just means that there's something preventing them from communicating, or maybe they're just not being good at communicating. I mean, it could be that too. It happens with toy companies. A lot of money indeed. It wouldn't Hasbro to show parts of the process. I would love to see more of the development of the Ghost. Hopefully it means they're adjusting more stuff, like height, width for the Ghost. I feel like it's pretty late for that at this point. I know that they did do that early on. The model at Comic-Con wasn't the final model. And that was information provided there at the show to us at the time. But yeah, that has to have been ironed out for tooling purposes and manufacturing. Awesome. All right. So we're going to transition into our final topic, and that is new acquisitions. What have you guys added to your collections? Let me know here in the comments. I will call them out. I will also show you what I've been adding to my collection. All right, here we go. Okay. Good. New acquisitions. All right, so I just realized I need to step away to grab something, but I'm going to show you guys a couple of things first before I do that. New acquisitions, these are things that I've been adding to my collection. These are things that you've been adding to your collections. I'm going to start out with a couple basic ones. So from Amazon.com, I got a couple of TVC figures. So I got May. May just came in this past week. And so did her sister. I got Osha. These are in the latest wave of the vintage collection. Now, like I said earlier, they changed the case assortment. There were supposed to be like multiples of these in that wave. But now there's not. So I had to go back on Amazon and pick up my duplicates because I need to open a pair and I need to have a pair carded. So those are my two TVC receivables. for this week. And that case has shipped. I hope I get it today because I'm excited to get it. Last week we had that awesome show about 35 years of Tim Burton's Batman. And we talked about the Kenner Batman toy line, the Toy Biz Batman toy line. And so I still have that in my head. I went ahead and picked up the Batman the Animated Series Robin. Now, I did have this as a kid. I think my grandma got it for me. But I don't know what happened to it over the years. And this is just like their regular Robin. And he does come with his glider, turbo glider, and drop missiles. So it's a really nice one. And this one isn't very expensive on eBay. It was like $20. So some of these animated series figures you can get pretty cheaply. But yeah, a lot of nostalgia for me with this one because I had it as a kid. Yeah, Batman the Animated Series, awesome toy line. Maybe we'll do a follow-up focusing only on the animated series one of these days. But yeah, that was a blast last week with Blaine from NECA and Jason, Work More or Less, and Ryan Dull. That was just a lot of fun from Toy Anxiety. Lots of fun there. All right, a couple of other things that I have here. So the Jada Universal Monsters line has been going on for a few years now, and I did pick up the original releases, which were Frankenstein's Monster, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, and Bride of Frankenstein. But I never got the final wave, which consisted of these two: the Invisible Man, this is the Wolfman, the Invisible Man. So I finally went back. Halloween's coming next month. I said, hey, this is the time. I want to get these all on display on a little shelf with the others. Yeah, and they're pretty cool. Yeah, so this was Jada Toys. These are 6-inch scale. They're articulated. They're not as like detailed as the NECA figures, but they are more toy oriented, and that's what I appreciate. Like NECA stuff, as you guys know, sometimes can break. But these are just like meant to be good quality toys that have really good likenesses and appearances. So these are the last two that I needed. I'm excited to have them. And yeah, I've always loved Universal Monsters, like the old school ones. So I got those. All right, what do I want to show you guys next? Oh, the thing that I didn't bring with me. I'm going to step away. Give me 2 seconds. Let me see what I can find for you guys to watch while I step away here. What do I have here? I don't want to leave you just in silence. How about this? You can watch this is very unconventional, but you can watch the intro one more time while I go and grab my other things. I'll be right back. All right, perfect. Very unconventional. All right. So, like I said, my good friend Chris signed me into Disneyland this week. So I went to Galaxy's Edge. We talked about Galaxy's Edge. We did a whole long segment about it. Let me show you what I picked up there. As you may recall, a couple years back, they released the Sith Wayfinders from the Rise of Skywalker. So I added the second one in my collection, which is the white one. Previously, I had bought the black one. Now, the white one is the one that Rey gets on the Death Star that Kylo Ren then crushes in his hand. So this is the white one right here. And I'm going to turn it on. All right, so it's now on. Basically, you get a Kyber crystal and you hold it right here. Hello. It's ringing. Sounds like Skype.
mountainous world located amid a scattering of wealthy planets just off the muddy Hydian Way trade route in the galaxy's outer rim.
Yeah, see, it's the same voice as the black one. But yeah, I don't know why it has to have like the ghost face voice. It's weird. Very, very weird. But yeah, so these are blind boxes, but you can tell what it is by looking at the lid. If it has 2 white dots on the lid, then it's the white one. If it has 1 white dot and 1 black dot, it's going to be the black Wayfinder. So a little hack there if you're trying to get those at Galaxy's Edge. The other thing that I got, I'm going to pull up a photo. So I think you can see it best if I show you the photo. This is probably I guess this would be the coolest thing that I got. So I'll start with this first, or next. This right here, I built a new lightsaber because I love building my lightsabers. So they have 4 different lightsabers at Galaxy's Edge. There is the Protection and Defense, which is like the gold Old Republic type look, which I built one of those. I showed it to you guys one time. There's the Peace and Justice, which is more like the Jedi version, like Obi-Wan, quite like, well, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Luke, like kind of that style. And I built that too. And I know I showed it to you guys. This time I went for the more Sith looking lightsaber. Power and Control is the theme. And this was a really cool experience because this has never happened to me. And I'd honestly never heard of it happening to anybody. But at my time slot to build the lightsaber, there was nobody else in there. I had the whole thing to myself. And the gatherers, the 3 folks that were in there helping me with this process, still put on, they were still 100% full on putting on a great show. So just because I was the only person there didn't mean that the show didn't happen. The show happened and I still built my lightsaber, but this time the theme was Protection and Defense. And I built my Sith themed lightsaber, which I really, really wanted. Now I also picked up the base, which you can see here. You can buy the base at Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities there in Galaxy's Edge. And I bought the little add-on where you can put one of your lightsaber crystals on top of it. So you can change the colors on the base. It's a really nice base. And then the 2 holders, the 2 prongs holding up the lightsaber, they're adjustable. You can move them back and forth to accommodate your lightsaber. Also, sneak peek, you're looking at a little section of my collection here that is brand new. I have a brand new part of the collection that is not in the previous collection video, and I will be doing a video for that in the very near future. I'm just trying to finalize a few things on this display, but if you look carefully, you can see a few teases in there. I'm not going to say what they are, but you can see a few teases in there apart from the lightsaber. The lightsaber itself, I have it right here. And yeah, this is Victoria's dark side lightsaber. So when I become a Sith, or when I was a Sith, or maybe I still am I don't know. This is what my lightsaber looks like. Now, there's different parts you can choose from, of course. And it can be a very difficult thing to choose. But I really like this. I like how this is like, it's like a rubber kind of feeling thing. And this material kind of carries over in here, carries over into the center area. There's a little bit of it right in here, this rubber kind of stuff. So I wanted to do something that had a consistency to it. And I also wanted to do something that looked a little bit similar to the Stranger's lightsaber. And I think I accomplished that because if you look at photos of his saber from Comic-Con, it kind of looks similar to this in some way, especially like this emitter area. But yeah, it's got a red crystal, so it's a red lightsaber. And one thing that I really liked about this one was the 2 emitters. So I got both emitters because at Galaxy's Edge and Disneyland here in California, you can buy spare parts after you've built your lightsaber. I don't think they do this in Florida, but in California they do. So if you finish your build, you got to build first. But then when you go back, you show them your receipt, you show them your lightsaber, and you can buy the additional parts that you didn't select when you're building your lightsaber. I only bought one part. I bought this because I really liked this emitter. It gives the lightsaber a whole other look. And basically you just twist it here. Sorry, it's a little squeaky. Pull that off. And then you put the new emitter on top. And now you have, like I said, it totally changes the look of the lightsaber. It gives it more of like a Sith-y, Darth Maul-ish sort of thing. And this could be a dangerous weapon even without activating it, right? I mean, this could be dangerous. So yeah, I wanted to get that one part because I think it's really neat part. Really neat part. But yeah, my default is just the more standard looking piece because I don't know. It just, to me, it looks, I like it a little bit better. It's a little more low key, but to me, it's a little more ideal. The blade is not in here right now, but it does come with a blade. It does come with a carry bag. So the on-off switch is right there. Yes. So this is my new lightsaber. It's probably my favorite one that I built. And I can't display them all at once, but this is the one, as you saw in the picture, I have currently on display. So yeah, it's my new lightsaber. I dig it. I love it. I think it's in my head. I thought I was going to use different parts than what I ended up with for a couple of those. But then when I actually built it, I was like, no, this works. This is exactly, I'm very happy with it. Very happy with it. Okay, the last thing that I built, you guys know that I love my droids, right? Love my droids. Did I build a droid at Galaxy's Edge? You bet I did. All right, let me introduce you to our newest pal right here. Now, these are brand new droids that just came to Galaxy's Edge within the last like month and a half. This is the is it the ALT series? ATL series, I believe. And these have been seen in The Mandalorian. They've been seen in Solo, but they're not prominent. They're just kind of rolling around in the background. And they have two different versions you can choose from. You can get it with a white body like I did, white and red, or you can get it with a black and silver body. The legs you can get in black and silver, or you can get in red and silver. The red and silver red and white match more the body that I picked. And then the dome, you can get a clear black dome like I did, or you can get a red and white dome that matches this body and matches the other legs. What's also neat about this, though, is that you can pull down the legs like that. And if you do this, you can insert a middle leg right there in the little slot. You can put in an astromech droid leg, and then you can have it roll around on three legs. So I did get a black middle leg, but I've since taken it out because I didn't really want to keep it in there. But legs are a little bit hard to close. You got to use a little bit of force. But on the bottom, these guys have treads. If you look at this, they don't have wheels, they have treads. And if you want to know what it sounds like, it sounds like an astromech droid. It sounds like R2-D2, but it's like distorted. It has like a synthesized, processed, like R2-D2 voice. Which is interesting. And it does accommodate a chip. If you want to change the personality chip, you just open this door and it goes in there. And it works pretty well. Like I'm pretty impressed with like the treads on here. It's kind of nice to have a tread, like a treaded droid, but this can get really dirty. So make sure your floors are cleaned. It's a fun design, you guys. This is really cute. I wanted to have at least one of these. And, you know, I love my black, red, and white. It's one of my favorite color palettes. So that's what I ended up going with here. It's fun. It's a fun droid. It's a fun design. It's cute. And it's unique. It's something brand new. And I'm happy that they're continuing to add new droids that you can build at Galaxy's Edge. And I hope they continue to do that. This guy doesn't have a name yet. I don't know what I'm going to name him or her or yeah. So any preferences? We'll see. Keep you guys posted. But yeah, you're the first to see this. I haven't posted it on my Instagram yet. Probably will do that later today. But yeah, this is a fun droid. And I hope that they continue to release new droids. I'm going to set it down over here. All right. And those are my acquisitions, you guys. I had a great time at Galaxy's Edge. And I still need to build the last lightsaber. I still need to build the elemental nature one, which is the more like Rey looking like her yellow lightsaber, like more wood and more organic sort of elements. And I'll do that in the future. Not sure when, but definitely in the future. And yeah, what did you guys get this week? I want to know. I see 40 new comments here in the chat. Let's see what you guys have been adding to your collections. Jason, nothing new here toy-wise, but I did get new shelves. Nice. Delvey and Seek waiting on pre-orders in the UK, but to get the TVC Pilot 4-pack. Cool. Geklin says that I just got a second TVC Ocean made today for work desk. Very nice. Yeah, I haven't opened them yet, you guys, but they actually look really good. And I would say, well, I don't know, maybe it's just mine. When my case gets here, I'll compare them. But the likenesses on Ocean and May, they look like they're different sculpts, which is interesting because it's the same actress. But like Osha looks a little better to me. May looks like her face is a little bit thinner. And the eyes don't look quite as good, I guess. It's just interesting considering that they're the same actress. Like, why do they have two unique head sculpts? Like that's interesting. But yeah, they look great. Black Series Yord. Awesome, Adam. Trevor says, very good week. Some long-awaited figures. Zori Bliss, Sheridan, my R5D4 plus Master Soul Ocean May. Rogue Killer, I received my SH figure art Spider Punk in Vintage Collection called Banth, Dark Trooper, and HK Droid. That's a good haul right there. Awesome. Trevor says, love the Universal Monsters. I collect Universal Monsters as well. Very nice. Very nice. I don't have this is really all I have. Like, I have these figures, these Jada figures, but that's about all I have really. I only picked up 2 of the Disney Halloween droid that was released this year. Nice. That's a fun one. Adam, most recent TVC for me, apart from Chrysanthemum, was Hondo Onaka, Grand Inquisitor, Deluxe Sabine, Thrawn, Elsbeth, and Krennic, along with various Jurassic and Transformers. Very good. That's a good, well-rounded acquisitions. Greg most recently added a mint condition original 1978 white TIE Fighter, one of my grails. Very nice, Greg. That is an awesome. I think you win so far today. That is a great one. Just in time for your birthday. Love it. Let's see here. Time to you guys talking about the theme music playing. I'm gonna change it up. I don't know if those bells are coming back. Probably not, but Dodgson, but I am going to be changing it up for next. Now that we're moving into October, I'm going to be changing it a little bit. Let's see here. Howard Base says, finally got the $25 Blurg sets in hand. Very nice. TVC Cobb Banth and Sabine Chopper 2-pack. I should have the new Black Series, Ahsoka the White, and Thrawn coming Monday. Super stoked about those. Awesome. Dam says, May is a great figure, but Osha is a top-notch figure. So much kit bashing, customizing potential. Love the removable vest and the unique strap and blaster. I'm looking forward to getting them opened up. It's just one of those things, you know, when lines are so small and there's like not a ton of figures, like they don't really fit anywhere, right? Thankfully there's at least 3 of these right now, right? So you can make a little scene, right? A little moment, but there definitely needs to be more to build up those scenes. Mary says, I received figure obscura Frankenstein's creature and Hot Toys Grand Admiral Thrawn and TVC May and HKD said, very nice. That is also an excellent haul right there, Mary. Marino, I got a snow speeder. I plan to take it to Galaxy's Edge for toy photography. Very nice. Definitely send when you do that. If you do that, like tag me or send me some pictures. I'd be really curious to see that. Now I can navigate the unknown regions. Yes, I can. I hope my Mustang goes into can go to the unknown regions. My droid is talking. I hope my Mustang can go to the unknown regions. I haven't tested that out yet. It does kind of look like a space shuttle in my car. So maybe. And yeah, I'll definitely have to plug in the white Wayfinder and see if it can get me there. That Kyber crystal just made both of my dogs go nuts. Sorry, Adam. Yeah, I know. It's creepy voice. Very creepy. Yeah. Rick, Hot Toys Thrawn, TVC X-Wing Pilots, Ocean May, Mattel Creations, Masters of the Universe, Demo Man, TLS New 1980s Inspired Strawberry Shortcake, 1980s Inspired 5.5-inch Blueberry Muffin, and Orange Blossom. Very nice. That's a really good acquisitions there. I'm going to use TVC OSHA as a base to make Clone Wars final season Ahsoka and freelance mechanic garb. Ooh, interesting. I want to see that when it's done. Greg says, also got the Lego Great Deku Tree. Very nice. Deluxe lighted Metroid Prime Samus, the Blurg, and Black Series Hammerhead. Those are a good roundup there too. That's awesome. You got that Lego set. I need to get back into that game. I haven't finished it yet. Are your dogs force sensitive? I think dogs are very force sensitive, honestly. Saber, seriously cool. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, I had a blast with it. Jason, you saw some helmets in that photo? Mm-hmm. The parts are matched. They're stylish. I try, you guys. I try to be... So, sometimes I see a lightsaber part, and I actually think it looks cooler than what I end up using. And the reason is that I feel like I'm trying to make something that looks cohesive and flows. That might mean skipping on some of my more preferred parts, but hey, if it makes a nicer lightsaber, and with it in mind, you can always buy the spare parts, but I usually don't do that. I did it this time, but for that one part, I don't normally do that because they're still like $25 a part. But yeah, I dig my lightsaber. It's cool. Cast members unwittingly participated in a dark ceremony. It was funny. They actually, yeah. So I already knew I was going to build that lightsaber. I already knew I was going to have a red crystal. And they're doing this whole show just for me. And I picked the red crystal, and the main gatherer is like, oh, okay then. And yes, I mean, they definitely toyed with me a bit for going the Sith route. But I had a good chat with them, and they came to find that this wasn't my first build. This is my third build, and that I'm just trying to complete the series. But they said that, they wanted to be nice to me because they didn't want me to come back with Kylo Ren. They didn't want me to come back and mistreat him. It was fun. It was a fun little, it was cool to do it by myself. I'll bet that it's never going to happen again. It's never going to happen again. But it's cool that it happened once. And I have a couple of pictures that my friend took of me doing that. So I didn't have photos before. Functioning tread supremacy. Sounds like regular astromech turned down 2 octaves and behind a big door. That's interesting, Adam. I hadn't thought of it that way. Marino, thanks for company. May the horse be with you to deflect instigators. I mean, yeah, we have this lightsaber now, right? I'm always drawn to the Darksiders. I don't know what it is, you guys. I don't know what it is. It's the the darkness within. You got to keep it at bay, is what it is. 17.28 says Ollie Flame Trooper for $10 and Blurg Main Soul. Nice. Mike says that he received the TVC Cobb Banth and Blurg. Super happy. Awesome. I haven't gotten Cobb Banth yet, you guys. I need to go out and look for him. I got the Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime. It's like he stepped out of the 80s cartoon. Oh, nice. Dom. That's a good acquisition. You want me to tag in Instagram? If so, it is listed in the same name, but without the apostrophe. Yeah, if you get those photos, definitely do that. You're very talented at designing your sabers and droids. Thank you, Mary. I feel like I have too many droids. I feel like maybe I need to rehouse some of them because, I don't know, it's getting a little out of control. If anyone wants to adopt a droid, let me know. I don't know that I'm going to do that. I'm just saying, I have a lot of them. I love them all. But, yeah. Sometimes collections grow a little too big and they need to be culled down a little bit. I think that's it. That is all of our new acquisitions. Thank you guys for sharing. Thank you guys for being with me here on a Saturday morning. Time for a video, VC droids walking the catwalk. That would be hilarious. I love that idea. I love it. I should do that for TikTok or something. I don't know. This was kind of fun doing this on Saturday morning. I didn't get much sleep. I had to get ready really quick. I had to make my coffee really quick. And as you guys saw, I didn't even have all my acquisitions. I had to go run and grab them mid-show, which isn't ideal, but we made it work. We made it happen. And I'm glad that I see people in the chat that aren't normally with us due to the time zone difference when we go live on Friday nights versus Saturday mornings. So I don't think this will be the last Cantina Coffee Hour. I don't think it's going to become a normal thing. I think, Friday will be the normal show as usual. But I can definitely see myself, if there isn't a Friday show, doing it a little more often on Saturdays, if you guys want that. Yeah, this has been fun. It's a good way to start my Saturday morning and continue to enjoy my break because I am off from work for a little bit for fall break, which I'm digging because I get to spend time, doing things like going to Disneyland and hanging out with friends and working on my collection and organizing and all that stuff. So yeah, no, thanks you guys. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for sharing your acquisitions. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for being kind in the chat. I think we have one of the best, most positive, and most kind chats of any regular live stream show. So appreciate you guys as always. Thank you for tuning in. I would not be doing this unless you guys were coming in for it. In this case today, my stomach's growling. I need to eat some breakfast for Cantina Coffee Hour. And yeah, no matter where you're tuning in from out in the galaxy, appreciate you guys. We'll be back Friday night. I don't have a guest to announce quite yet. I'm finalizing those details. I'm finalizing my October schedule because the next show we do will be in the month of October. Crazy. But it's my favorite month of the year. Spooky season is my favorite time of the year. I'm ready for it. I'm here, mind, soul, and body, just ready for spooky season. I'm ready for fall. And I'm ready to let the spooky times roll. And Halloween special coming up. Put it on your calendars, you guys. Halloween special is coming up. We're going to have a big party celebrating Halloween, talking toys, talking spooky toys, but also talking one of my favorite topics, as you guys might know, the paranormal, and sharing some stories there. So that will be on Friday, October the 25th. So mark your calendars for our Halloween edition of Cantina Social Hour that night. Be sure to vote for once Last Figure Standing begins voting next Saturday. Be sure you're voting for that. Keep it positive, keep it real, keep it honest. Spread positivity, spread optimism. There's too much of the opposite. And just have a good time. Enjoy life. Be well, be safe. No matter where you're seeing from around the galaxy. Thank you for watching Cantina Social Hour and Cantina Coffee Hour. I'm going to get me a refill here pretty soon. And some breakfast. And I will see you guys real soon. Take care, you guys. Thank you for coming in. I will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.